Hey there, and welcome to this deep dive all about cleaning job interviews. You know you've got that interview coming up.
Yeah.
And you want to be prepared right, like totally prepped. Not just for those like basic questions, but for like anything they could ask. So we're digging into some really awesome resources from Indeed.com today. They've got tons of potential questions and even sample answers. We're going to help you shine in that interview.
You know, it's interesting what these Indeed resources really highlight is just how much cleaning jobs rely on more than just like technical skills. It's not enough to just know how to make a surface sparkle. You really have to show that you can be reliable, a good communicator, a problem solver,
Yeah.
and like a real team player.
I think that's what throws people off sometimes. You think you're walking into a cleaning job interview to talk about different cleaning products and stuff, but then they hit you with something like, what's your greatest weakness?
Oh, yeah. That's a total classic interview question. It can really throw anyone off. And it's right there in the general questions section from Indeed. And it might seem out of place for a cleaning role, but it actually tells them a lot about you as a candidate. It shows self-awareness and honesty.
So they're not looking for someone who like pretends to be perfect. They want someone who can reflect on their strengths and weaknesses
Uh-huh.
and show that they're willing to learn and grow.
Exactly. And you know, while being able to acknowledge those weaknesses is really important, it's also important to know how to frame them in like a positive light instead of just saying, I'm a perfectionist,
Yeah.
which can sound kind of cliche and insincere. Try focusing on areas where you're actively working to improve. Like you could say, I sometimes struggle with time management, but I'm using this new scheduling app to help me prioritize tasks more effectively. That shows you're proactive and committed to self-improvement.
That's a great tip. Okay, so we talked about those general personality questions. What about the questions that get into the actual nitty-gritty of cleaning?
Well, that's where the questions about experience and background section comes in. That's your chance to really showcase what you know about all those different cleaning techniques and materials. Let that passion for cleaning shine through.
For sure. And they had some pretty specific questions in there. For example, one that caught my eye was, tell me about your approach to cleaning wood, metal, and granite. How is each material different?
That one goes way beyond just basic cleaning knowledge. You're showing that you understand the nuances of different materials, that you're not just going to use the same cleaner on everything. It's about doing the job right, not damaging a delicate surface by using the wrong product.
And they even give a sample answer for that one, which I thought was really helpful. It talks about using vinegar and water for wood, dish soap for granite,
Mm.
and specific techniques for different types of metal.
That level of detail is exactly what they're looking for. It shows that you've thought about this, you've done your research, and you're ready to use that knowledge on the job.
Now, while those sample answers are a great place to start, I think it's also good to go beyond just memorizing them. What would you recommend for someone who wants to deepen their understanding of all those different cleaning techniques?
Well, there are tons of resources out there, online and in libraries. Articles, videos, even entire books on all those different cleaning methods. And don't underestimate the power of hands-on experience. Practice on different surfaces around your home. You'd be surprised how much you can learn by experimenting. Pay attention to the results.
All right, so we've got the general get-to-know-you questions. We've talked about specific cleaning knowledge questions. But I'm guessing there's another layer here, right? Those questions that really put you in the hot seat.
You're talking about what Indeed calls in-depth questions. These are designed to see how you'd handle those real-life situations, the ones that inevitably come up on the job.
Yeah. Give me an example.
Okay, how about this? Tell me about a time when you needed to clean a large area with a strict deadline.
Ooh, that's a good one. You'd have to talk about time management,
Yeah.
prioritizing tasks, maybe dealing with some surprise obstacles. Basically proving that you can work well under pressure.
Exactly. And that's a skill that's valuable for almost any job, not just cleaning. You're showing them you can think on your feet and solve problems effectively.
It's like you're not just someone who can follow instructions, but someone who can adapt and handle the unexpected. And that leads perfectly into my next question. How do we actually answer these in-depth questions in a way that blows them away? Because I have a feeling it's not as simple as it might seem.
You're right. It's not just about spitting out facts or procedures. It's about telling a story that shows off your skills, your experience, and your approach to solving problems. And those sample answers from Indeed can give you some great inspiration. They're not just giving you words to say. They're showing you the thought process behind a strong answer.
Oh, I like that. Let's unpack a few of those sample answers and see how they do just that. I'm ready to hear what they came up with.
Okay, let's dive in. I think we should start by looking at those questions that really test your interpersonal skills, because even cleaning jobs involve a lot of interacting with other people.
I'm with you. Let's get into it. Okay, so we're diving into those in-depth questions from Indeed. The ones that really test your ability to navigate those tricky situations. You know, those interpersonal ones that can come up on any job, even in cleaning.
Right, and with these questions, there's not always a right or wrong answer. It's more about how you think, how you communicate, how you handle conflict. They want to see how you approach things.
Okay, let's jump into one. How about this one? What would you do if you disagreed with a colleague about how to do a cleaning task?
Oh, that's a good one. That really gets at those conflict resolution skills. Anyone can say they're a team player. But how do you actually handle those disagreements in a way that's professional and productive?
Well, Indeed's sample answer talks about calmly explaining your reasoning,
Mm-hmm.
listening to your colleague's perspective, and trying to find a compromise, something that works for both of you.
Yeah, that's a really solid approach. It shows you're willing to collaborate, that you respect other people's opinions, and that you're focused on finding a solution, not just winning an argument.
But there's a little textbook, you know? How do you actually make it sound genuine and not like you just memorized it from a book?
That's where those personal anecdotes come in. Instead of just listing those steps generally, think of a specific time when you disagreed with someone at work, maybe about a cleaning task, or even something totally different.
Like that time I argued with my coworker about whose turn it was to empty the dishwasher. Just kidding, kinda.
Exactly. Use that experience to make your point come alive.
So talk about how you handled it, what you learned from it, how it helped you grow as a team member.
Right, because they want to see that you can learn from your experiences.
Oh, that's a great tip. Okay, let's look at another question that puts those interpersonal skills to the test. What about this one? What do you do if you see a colleague stealing from a property?
Whoa, that's a tough one. It gets into ethical decision-making, which can be tricky.
Yeah, it is. So Indeed's sample answer talks about following company protocol, recording the incident to a supervisor, and avoiding gossip or speculation.
Yeah, that's definitely the right way to go from a legal and ethical standpoint. But it's also important to think about the emotional side of things. It can be really upsetting to see a colleague behaving that way, especially if you thought they were a friend.
Totally. You don't want to jump to conclusions or accuse anyone without proof, but you also don't want to ignore it like it's not happening.
It's a tough balance for sure.
For sure.
And I think the key is to stick to the facts. Report what you saw, write it down if you can,
Yeah.
and let the right people handle the investigation.
It's about doing the right thing, even when it's hard.
And that's something any employer would appreciate.
Okay, let's move on to something a bit more practical. This one's all about problem solving. What do you do if you can't get a stain out?
The dreaded stain question. Every cleaner's nightmare, but it's a great chance to show off your resourcefulness and your dedication to making the customer happy.
Absolutely. So what does Indeed say?
Well, their sample answer talks about
Sure.
trying different techniques, researching solutions, and talking to the client to manage expectations.
Oh, I like that they emphasize communication. It's not enough to just say, I tried my best. You got to be proactive. Show them you're willing to go the extra mile and keep the client updated every step of the way.
Yeah, communication is key.
Especially when you're dealing with a client who's really attached to that item. Maybe it's a family heirloom or something, a piece with sentimental value.
Right, you have to be understanding, but also realistic about what you can do. Sometimes the best solution is to recommend a professional cleaner, someone who specializes in stain removal.
It's all about knowing your limits and being honest with the client.
And that honesty can actually build trust.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question before we wrap up this section. How about the one about cleaning a large area with a strict deadline? That seems like a classic test of time management and prioritizing.
Oh, absolutely. It's something almost every cleaner has to deal with at some point. And it's not just about working fast, it's about working smart.
So what does Indeed's sample answer say?
It talks about breaking down the task into smaller chunks, prioritizing the most important areas, and using tools and techniques to save time.
I like that they really focus on planning and organization.
Yeah, before you even start cleaning, take a minute to think about the whole task. See if there are any challenges, and make a plan.
And be ready to adjust if you need to. What if a piece of equipment breaks down, or you find a hidden mess you weren't expecting?
Exactly. That's when those problem-solving skills kick in. Don't panic. Just take a breath, look at the situation, and come up with a solution. And if you need help, don't be afraid to ask.
It's about being resourceful, staying calm, and knowing when to reach out.
And those are all qualities that make a great cleaner.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground here, but I feel like we're just scratching the surface of what it takes to ace a cleaning interview. What do you think? Ready to move on to the final part of this deep dive?
Yeah, I think we're ready to wrap things up, give our listeners some key takeaways, help them really nail that interview.
Awesome. I'm excited to hear what other gems of wisdom you have to share. All right, we've made it to the final part of our cleaning job interview deep dive. You've got the knowledge, you've got the strategies. Now it's all about putting it all together and making that sparkling first impression.
Exactly. And even though we've talked about a lot today, I think it helps to boil it down to a few key takeaways. What do you think are the most important things for our listener to remember, as they get ready for that interview?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is this. Cleaning jobs need a mix of things. You need those technical cleaning skills, but also those interpersonal skills. You got to be able to clean well, of course, but you also need to communicate well, solve problems, and handle those awkward situations that always seem to pop up.
Yeah, you're right. Those soft skills are often what makes a cleaner stand out. They're what interviewers are really looking for when they ask those in-depth questions.
It's about showing them you're not just someone who shows up and cleans. You're someone who takes pride in their work, who pays attention to the details, and who can be a reliable part of the team.
Right. And remember, a lot of this comes down to practice. Don't just skim those sample answers from any. Indeed, really think about them. Connect them to your own experiences. Practice saying them out loud.
Yes, practice is key. Maybe even role play with a friend or family member. That way, when you're in the actual interview, you'll feel more confident and prepared.
That's a great idea. And don't be afraid to change those sample answers a bit. Make them fit your own personality and experiences. You want to sound genuine, not like a robot.
Exactly. Show off your strengths and let your personality shine through. That's what'll make you memorable and help you stand out.
Absolutely. Now, before we finish up, I want to leave our listener with one final thought.
Ooh, I love a good parting thought. What is it?
Remember when we talked about thinking back to a time when you had to clean up a really tough mess? Well, I want you to hold on to that memory, take it with you into that interview, because those real-life experiences, the ones where you had to think on your feet and solve problems, those are the experiences that will make your answers come alive.
That's such a good point. It's not just about memorizing things. It's about connecting those experiences to the skills they're looking for.
Exactly. So as you prepare for that interview, remember you've already got a ton of experience. You just need to tap into it and find a way to share it with the interviewer.
And with all the insights we've talked about today and those fantastic resources from Indeed, you're on your way to doing just that.
So go out there, be confident, be prepared, and most importantly, be yourself.
And remember, a cleaning job interview is just a conversation. It's a chance to show off your skills, share your experiences, and connect with the interviewer.
And who knows, you might just land that dream cleaning job.
We're rooting for you. And that wraps up our deep dive into cleaning job interviews. We hope you feel ready to tackle those interviews with confidence.
Best of luck in your job search, everyone.
And until next time, keep diving deep and keep learning.